that lots of some inefficiencies are similar, but the situation is really complex, and there are a lot of variables and lots of stakeholders in this process, and we need to see the way how to change that. So, as a member of Agile Lithuania, I'm responsible for the agilization of the public sector in Lithuania, and that's why I've started studying all this environment. Okay, I have experience working with public IT projects from the supplier perspective. I have experience consulting, arranging procurement from the technical expert perspective and so on, so I know that thing practically. But this topic is much more deeper than it seems to most of us, especially from the legal side, from the financial side, from the economical side, and the number of stakeholders here. So that's why I'm studying this now, and right now I must say that I'm at the very beginning of this interesting process of Lithuanian government agilization and bringing some innovations into procurement. So I want to share my first findings with you and present my draft roadmap for possible change. How can this be changed, and to what direction, and by what meanings, and with what tools or methodologies, and so on. How to bring Agile into our public sector, if that is possible at all. So the goals of this presentation is not to go very deep into some such interesting questions as Agile contracting, or Agile payments through the government, or Agile methodics in delivery and software or IT and so on. I just want to go on the high level. That's to start from the introduction about what's going on now with public procurement in IT, my personal view, my personal perspective, what is going on somewhere else, in other countries maybe. And can we replicate that? What is actually there? What do we not have at this moment here? What is the foundation in Lithuania currently which can be used as a starting point for all these changes? And hopefully I want to initiate the change by this presentation and by my stepping into all this field. I want to initiate this change, and I gladly contribute to that. I am already contacting different organizations, and good news, they are gladly accepting my contacts. So they want to speak about that, they want to hear the ideas, they want to hear the possible suggestions how to change things. So everybody can help, and if you have ideas, if you have suggestions, you can contact me after that, and we can work on these philanthropic goals together. Okay, so what is our public procurement now? We have public procurement office, we have public procurement law, which is very complicated and being changed all the time, and we have strict procedures and regulations, and we have focus on transparency and control, and we have what significant breakthrough in here. I was on a conference a couple of weeks before, and the director of the public procurement office was giving a speech about the efficiency in public procurement. So by his own terms, they were really focusing all these years on transparency and control, meaning that we have a lot of regulations, we have a lot of rules to control, to follow, and so on, and we are following them in our tenders, in our proposals, and how they are being estimated, how they are being financed, and so on and so on. This is a big market. For the small Lithuania, we have this size of the market for the last year. This is from the Public Procurement Office statistics. This is 272 million liters. And we have almost 400 tenders for information services only. This is not about computers. They have much more for computers, for licenses, and so on. This is only for information systems development, which means consulting, software development, and so on. Interesting. What do we have on the dark side of that stuff? We have real legal overcomplication. Legal overcomplication starts not with the tender. It starts much earlier than that. All organizations suffer from this complication, how to get the allowance to start the tender. They need to write down tons of documentation about this future system in order to get the approval for the tender. from the information community committee, from the public procurement office, from other agencies, and so on, and to get the finances. So all that stuff starts before the tender even. It's not in the project management at all. Okay, we have a corruption, different levels of corruption, starting from this light version of corruption, when company wants some particular supplier because that guys are really qualified. That is also corruption. And they cannot buy that guy they want because they must follow the legal rules. We have fierce competition in this market. You see, for the small Lithuania, we have almost 300 million liters market here. And we have lots of IT companies working on that. And we have this fierce competition, lots of players go to tenders, and they're claiming and they're suing one another and our organization and kill the projects and kill the tenders just for fun, or not for fun, just for business. And that also complicates stuff. We have redundancies. All these redundancies and questionable efficiency comes from the lack of skills on the purchasing organization side. You may wonder how many single window systems we have. I know about 4. This is a single window services for the whole Lithuania. They were starting in different historical moments. Some of them are dead already, some of them are dying, some of them are not born yet, but it's a so popular idea to come and ask for single window system money, and it's being funded. That's very interesting. Some time ago, it was another hot topic was PKI and the digital signatures. Now they became commodity already. Okay, talking back about IT, that was general about public procurement. Talking about IT, we have also very complex legal environment. We have 3 legal acts about the IT in government. Law on public information resources. We have methodology recommending some life cycle of the information system delivery. We have also establishment and regulation rules, nuostatų, the taisyklės, and we have very dispersed and splitted ownership on IT, on government IT resources. We have 3 ministries. 3 ministries owning the government IT with different ownerships. Minister of Justice responsible for the registers, Minister of Interior for the e-government, they are e-government supervisor. Minister of Interior, Police, they are e-government. And Minister of Transport and Communication responsible for the methodologies we should use when delivering information systems. That is exceptional. And we have official public IT supervisor, this Information Society Development Committee, and we have a government co-supervisor, and we have long-term legal sequences. In order to start, I will maybe start with this slide. This is this long-term legal sequence. In order to have the project in government, normally government must have some, I don't know, starting point, European or government program, some order, some legal act here, then feasibility study, then technical and other requirements, then procurement specifications, then tender only here, then we have a contract, then we're doing analysis again, and so on, and that lasts forever, and we have 3, maybe 4 years between initial requirements and idea was generated here. And when system is done, definitely that system is outdated, slightly to speak. This means actually that money are being approved for economic value of this point. But we are implementing them maybe 2 years or 3 years later. I was holding in my hands public procurement, public tender documents for one of tender. They want to run really modern e-services. They want to implement really modern e-services, another single window probably. And there are strict requirements. You should use as a platform Windows 2003. Why? It is not because they are so outdated. That is not because they have this old environment. That because this stuff was created 5 years ago, maybe, when there was no Windows 2008, and now we have Windows 2012 already. But okay, we still have requirements for the for the product platform which is not supported even already by the manufacturer. Okay, in public IT, I see these problems which kills Agile also. IT is a CapEx, capital expenditures. Organizations are purchasing systems as a product. This is a capital investment. That's why they buy all those servers, all those data centers, all those licenses, and so on. And they treat not only licenses and hardware as a capital investment, but also that custom software as a capital asset. That's meaning that you must buy that at a product, out of the box. 2 years system development as a product. There is no mindset allowing to start system after 1 month, for example, from the starting of the project. After 2 months going live. Because you cannot do that. You cannot put something after 2 months of the project because that something is not ready as a product yet. That is not legally acceptable. You can accept only product, something out of the box. That out of the box will finish after 2 years only, legally. That is a CapEx meaning, not OpEx. Operational expense, when you pay for services, you can accept services monthly and put them into production. That is all come from the financial models. Software as political asset. Okay, this is a software as a service. This is my copyright formulation. I really saw and I was participating in the projects which were purely political. So systems being created to gain some political weight, for example. With this single window, okay, we are more powerful organization comparing to that ministry. Okay, that's happening. Big Boys Club. All public tenders for all serious systems. You probably saw the qualification requirements. Millions of revenue, hundreds of systems, thousands of users, and so on. For what? For creating 6 web services. Guy from the street can do that, actually. But these qualifications, they exclude all small and medium businesses, which may be cheaper economically from all these public tenders. Because you buy, remember, CapEx, which is a big stuff, and for big stuff you need really significant responsibilities and liabilities from the vendor perspective. That means that vendor must be a big company. Small companies cannot go to public tenders, even if they're capable technically. Okay, I will create startup with 5 developers. I cannot go to they may be brilliant, they may be fully certified, qualified with 10 years of experience. I cannot go to public tender. I have maybe the best guys in Lithuania on my team. I cannot go to public tender just to create 6 web services. And that is reasonable, because they buy stuff for 4 million liters. Definitely I cannot go and take responsibility on 4 million liters budget with my startup. But if that stuff would be smaller, I could. Okay, requirements over goals. This is a classical stuff, and I was speaking about that previously in the spring. Requirements means that, okay, in tenders we have requirements, but we have no information of measurable goals, what that system is for. There may be servers named, there may be functional requirements met, but there is no acceptance criteria. There is no goal that we need this system, for example, to improve processing of documents by, I don't know, from 5 days to 1 hour. That is goal, that is metric, that is measurable. Not, for example, again, about that tender what I was speaking about. The tender is about for creating e-services. The goal of the project is to create 6 e-services. This is not goals. These are tools to achieve some goals, maybe to accelerate some processes, to gain some economical value, to save some money, I don't know, to save some paper, maybe. But not, the goal is to create a project. Undefined complexities. Undefined complexities, for example, okay, we have project, we have tender now ongoing with 37 integrations. Literally, there are 37 integrations with no information about any of the system we should integrate with. But, meanwhile, we have 2 pages defining how user should authenticate in the system. With passwords, you know, users have passwords. The complexity of password, you should use symbols, numbers, and so on and so on. 37 integrations are not worth explaining. The complexity of password worth 2 pages. That is a qualification stuff, and that is also comes from these outdated requirements, and that is happening all the time. So paper seems very significant, hundreds of papers maybe for the tender. No value, no answers. That is because there is no competences in the government for the good IT stuff. Or even if there would be those competences, the definition of such big project, it will require so much time that all those requirements become outdated again. Look at this cycle. For example, let's assume that these guys who write this feasibility study and approve the requirements, they are brilliant. They are really experts. If I formulate requirements and suggest some technical alternative, then after 3 years with our progress, it will be outdated anyway. Now there is different platform, different capabilities. 3 years ago, I would not even thinking about such things as Hadoop or clouds when suggesting high-load solution architecture. Now I'm only thinking about Hadoops and clouds. That is a change. But now we are starting tenders for the requirements specified on Windows 2003. Okay, we have this situation, and in public, talking about public procurement, we have focus on how do organizations buy, not what they buy, not is that really needed or is that really working. We have lack of championship for change, and that is natural. If we have 3 ministries responsible for IT, none of them is responsible, actually, because there must be a single point of responsibility in order to push changes. Okay, now we have some ministers who are quite innovative and they're trying to change stuff and they're trying to suggest something. Hopefully that is not because of election. Hopefully that will be continued after election. I really hope so. But we need those champions on the government. We need those champions in these ministries, and those champions must be also legally empowered. Okay, and I have already mentioned the lack of economic motivation for change, starting from the financing models. How do European Union distributes money, and how do organizations get the money? But you know, buyers are not interested to go to Agile. Organizations not interested to buy in small pieces. Why? Because, okay, if we have a ministry with own data center, remember CapEx, and we have IT department. Sorry guys if you are from ministries, IT departments, but that is true, that you want to have the biggest and the nicest data center possible. That's rise your rank, that rise your responsibility level and your financial incentives, definitely. I'm not talking about corruption even, but just normal and common sense. Like if I am IT manager, I want my IT to be really big. That makes me bigger manager. Bigger projects, bigger servers, and so on and so on. Sellers, big companies, those guys, big boys who come to tenders, they want to sell big project. They don't want to sell Agile project, which can be stopped after 2 months. You know, ideal Agile project can be stopped because customer says, okay, I don't like this, or okay, it's enough. How do they get their bonuses of those budgets of 6 million? They want to sell stuff in big chunks. They want to sell big projects. That's why that is their economic interest. So we have an awkward situation here, actually. So we need, I see that the only possibility is this championship and ownership of this situation from on the government IT in the government, and some strong push from there, looking on the best examples around us, and we have those examples. And Agile cannot help alone here. Agile is not the case. Agile is just part of all this puzzle. What is the foundation of our possible changes in the future? Future is coming, and it is very close, actually, closer than it appears. We have this stuff. We have no IT strategy, unfortunately. Some countries have, we not. We have no IT strategy. We have only methodology and some legal acts. But we have strategy for the country. We want to be smart country, good to live and work. Our Prime Minister has already announced many times abroad that okay, in 15 years, okay, 3 years from now, we will become Nordic and Baltic hub for IT. Okay, I don't believe that. Looking at what we have now, we will not be Baltic and Nordic hub 3 years from now. We can be, maybe later. But these are goals. And this is like a direction we should go to. Okay, after a little bit more years, we will have 3 million of innovative citizens. Small country, we choose the way towards innovation, towards high tech and so on. We must become modern. We must become innovative. You cannot become innovative with those projects when you have 4 years gap between the value or need identification and the first tender. This is not possible physically. We must start doing projects faster. We must start doing changes, e-services, single windows, whatever it will be, faster, just to see if that stuff is working. We have national progress programs. This is like a strategy lowered to the ministry's level, and we will talk about that a little bit later. So, we have all that now. That is the foundation. We have the solution, definitely, because this is Agile conference. We are speaking about Agile, and how can Agile help here? Procurement agilization, that is not scientific term, but this is some like a set of the different changes that can make Agile projects be purchased in Agile way, let's say. This is not about only delivery. You can deliver Agile now. Currently, some companies are working Agile undercover. They are applying Agile methodologies, even delivering for the government, even if nobody asks them for. They're just doing that because that is useful. But I'm talking about the next level, about buying in Agile way. So you can, exactly like I said, can stop the project or buy a little bit more, or accept something legally and put that to production legally without waiting for 2 years when the whole project is done. All that stuff. So if we have Agile public procurement, we don't need to try to define the indefinable. Okay, we have no qualified guys in government to formulate the great architecture requirements and so on. Okay, we will have these guys maybe unless we become these 3 million citizens, then there will be everybody who can write the tender documentation. But now when we have let's not write those documentations. Let's just start doing stuff, write high-level requirements, write use cases, user stories, and so on, what you want the system to do, not how the system should be implemented. I get totally annoyed every time I open the tender and I see that organizations saying me how to implement the system. 2 database servers, 1 web server, do this, do that. Okay, I am technical guy. Let me suggest you how many databases you should need. Say me what you want. How will you use that stuff? No, they're saying, hey, I need 2 databases, 1 web service, and then protocol this. No need of that, totally. And that's why they fail with those documentation. They try to prepare technical documents, and they fail. They're not technical guys. I am. I will write that documentation for you after that. Faster study, faster feasibility study to project life cycle, faster and usable go live. That is a total problem now. You announce the project, developing. Sometimes that stuff goes live after a year, maybe. Meanwhile, another institution have also started single window project. They also going live. And we have multiple services duplicating one another, only because sometimes that one of those institutions failed to start their services fast enough. For example, if you open some electronic service and you announce about that, you can start attracting the audience. You know, all web services, all web projects are done with this ideology. You start the web, you start social network, okay, and people start using that. If they use, okay, this is a good place to build more services on top of that web project. Not wait until everything is done and start only then. Requirements aligned to reality. Okay, stop when it's enough. I just dream to see this happening in public project. For example, if some goals are achieved even before budget is fully, let's say, implemented. Yes, so it is okay to stop. In private sector, when you come to a board of directors and suggest them feasibility study and say, oh, you can do this way, you can do this way, this is one alternative and this is alternative, and return of investment is expected like this. It's okay for them to say, no, we don't run this project because return of investment is not efficient and is not big enough. Did anybody hear about feasibility study which finished with no-go decision? Definitely there is one alternative, do nothing. But everybody does something. And that something goes after 2 years from that moment. And that something overlaps with something from another institution. If that something could be delivered faster, maybe another institution just would not start their project. They would do something new, something really useful. My heart bleeds when I see that how much money is spent on redundancies, on the same stuff, which is not working here and not working here. They could create different stuff that's not working anywhere. So that would be much more interesting. We can compare them at least. Wrong jungle is the joke about that, about the project managers and traditional project managers, definitely, and agile leader, which is running in front of the caravan and cutting through the jungle, through the forest, and climbing on the mountain and say, hey guys, stop, let's return back. These are wrong jungle. And project manager say, no, we just achieved steady performance. We must follow. So, wrong jungle. Stop the project, or co-finance, buy a little bit more of that project because that is so successful. Just imagine, you start the electronic service and all Lithuanian citizens start using that service and they want that service and they are happy and economic value is enormous. Can that organization buy a little bit more easily? Just like this. No, just to create another service. Just to increase this value. No, they must follow all those procedures which we described before. After 3 years, there will be probably no value. Which momentum would be lost. Suppliers risk management. Okay, if you see after 2 months that supplier is not supplier actually, you can change it. You can stop the project. And in other stuff, we have the strategy for innovation. We cannot be innovative with a 4 years life cycle for the government electronic projects. There must be innovation enablement somehow in those projects. There must be a quota for failure, meaning that why do we need all those feasibility studies? Feasibility study means that, okay, you try to minimize risks of just wasting the investment. With innovation, feasibility study is talking about the current alternatives, current technologies. With innovation, we must try something new. You cannot write feasibility study about innovation. You can only do innovation or do not innovation. So there must be something legally enabling government institutions to run innovation projects which can be not defined enough, which can be stopped, it can be cancelled, it can be failed, and nobody will get hurt about that. Okay, so all those were just nice words, like nice banners and so on, but that is working actually somewhere, and solutions are at hand actually. And there are some serious countries who have standardized the Agile as the only way of doing their government IT projects. These are references to the very serious institutions in, for example, United States. I will not read everything here, but just believe me that they are publishing documents enabling and guiding the government institutions how to use, or recommending, or sometimes even requiring to use Agile in public IT projects, highlighting the need, the use, and the value public organizations get from Agile projects comparing to traditional projects. They have formulated guides, they have formulated methodologies, how to formulate requirements and how to do contracts for the modular implementation of the government systems. They have done all the homework for us, by the way. We just need to take those PDFs, study them a little bit, think a little bit, and translate them to Lithuanian. They have defined different levels of the responsibilities, different level of investment management, contract approaches, payment strategies. Okay, you are in the United States, they are far away, they are not European Union, we are here, Europeans, everybody. We have also another European Union country, even more agile. If United States come with recommendations only, these have listen, they have targets for this and next year for government organizations. How many projects they must run in Agile way? If they fail their targets in front of the government. Ministries will fail if they don't adopt Agile fast enough. They have governance for Agile delivery, National Audit Office report of this year, this summer. There are adoption guides, there are adoption targets and KPI for different organizations. They have, this is a target for the next year, 50% of the major projects must be Agile. And then they go from, okay, this is just a target to apply methodology, but next target is purely performance target. You must start measuring your projects in some performance way, some performance meanings, and you must reduce the delivery time in your projects. In order to do that, they must go to single methodology, then they will have some metrics comparable, historically comparable, then in the next year they will compare their performance. Are their projects are really faster or slower and so on. There are official publications in that audit report, in another audit report, about systematic flows in traditional project management. You know them all. This is low user satisfaction, difficult to operate. This is their experience of their own electronic services delivered by traditional project management. I remember our systems, for example, of social insurance for declaration system and so on. Every accountant in Lithuania, they cry every month or every quarter end of the year when it comes to the declaration period. That system, that system is usable. Another totally unusable system is a central electronic procurement system. Everybody who tried to use that to provide your proposal or to get some communication from that, you know what I'm talking about. That's probably the ugliest system in Lithuanian e-government. And they had these systems also. That's why they have written that report. So they just got fed with those systems and they want something to change. They want systems to be delivered in smaller chunks, faster, so they can evaluate if that system is difficult or easy to operate, are users satisfied or not. Late delivery, failure, high cost to make simple system change, this is totally classic. Sometimes in our environment there are very low costs to make system change. They cost nothing for the organization. This is happening during the support. Just if you make this change for us, then you will be preferred supplier in the next tender, probably, possibly after 2 years. As a supplier, I don't want to make free changes to anybody. I must pay salaries to my developers. I am interested to get money for that. Not interested in some obscured by clouds possible tender 2 years from now when I will be paid. And obsolete systems technologically, that is totally a problem for all public procurement in all countries before these changes happen. Okay, UK rules and UK have IT strategy. this is absolutely terrific. And that IT strategy, by the way, it's not limited to Agile. Agile is only part of that. They speak about usability. They speak about new technologies. They speak about clouds. They are modern guys, you know. They look on the IT market, on the useful paradigms what are now on the market, and they put that into their strategy. Okay, we must redo our government IT in that way. Okay, this is also, I have mentioned that Agile adoption program, but that is very interesting that they have the target that these are taken from the 2-year roadmap for Agile adoption for the institutions. These are the orders for the organizations. They must have pilot projects in all departments. Agile everywhere. They have capability and approach for Agile. Identify the core technology to underpin Agile. They must increase small and medium enterprises provisioning. So they put as a target to rework the public procurement in UK, so much more small and medium companies could participate in IT tenders. The same in the United States. This is one of the problems, economical problems. They want to involve smaller companies because development of systems is usually, okay, even if big company come to tender, how many guys do they allocate for the project in Lithuania? What is the size? Huh? Excuse me? 4. That is really big project with 4 guys. Okay, so we have big company with million revenues and turnovers, but we have teams of 5 maybe guys. Okay, up to 10. This is one Scrum team, actually, for the government level, national level project for the 2 years. That is not a big stuff. You can hire small company. They will pray for you. They will do whatever they can to deliver this project, differently from the big company, for whom it's just another project in their pipeline, maybe, and they will just relocate the same resources to another project. You know all that stuff. All those 4-people teams are never fully staffed, actually, because people are working on multiple projects. And Center of Excellence for the fast startup of Agile projects. So they are creating, okay, additional to all those IT, not ministries, but IT offices, they are creating Center of Excellence in government for Agile. It's unbelievable, actually. They have annual rewards for Agile. And one of the categories is the best Agile project in public. Their knowledge of Sodra get the award for the last year, the pension funds. Okay, but how can it work? Actually, it's all of these nice words. Okay, we have references, but it's not clearly understood. How can we link this agility, all these Scrum teams, with the really serious financing models and projects and programs? We have an answer for that as well. How many of you know the Prince2 methodology, or at least heard about that? Very nice. I am Prince2 practitioner, certified. So I know that stuff also. This came from UK. So they previously, just as we did, they regulated all the project governance from the customer perspective. In our tender, you can see the Prince2 mentioned only as one of possible certificates. Prince2 or PMP or something like that. So Prince2 is totally different from PMP. Okay, nobody knows about that definitely, but Prince2 is a certificate for customer project manager, the guy who buys projects. PMP is for delivery project manager, the guy who delivers projects. Okay, they are equal in our requirements. That is terrible. And actually, Prince2 is about how you should organize the project from the customer organization perspective. You must have directing, you must all those stages and so on. And actually, in our case, this is the government project, the project which gets money. And our projects as suppliers, which are being won for the public tenders, are only part of that. There may be many of these, on the go many stages, and on one stage they buy one system, at another stage another system, and so on and so on and so on. Prince2 splits the big project into stages, theoretically. You can split this project into separately purchased system components, which are also may be delivered on their own turn in agile way by different iterations. So we have very formal and very government level methodology called Prince2 for the organization and controlling of this project. We have agile methodologies for the delivery. They are fully compatible because both of them are, at least theoretically, targeted to the business need of the project. One is for the business need from the customer perspective and return of investment, and another, for example, Scrum and so on, all those agile manifests, they say that business value is the most important. That's why they involve customer in collaboration. That's why they deliver faster, just to check if that stuff is really valuable. If not, throw it away. Don't do that anymore. So these methodologies fit. And there are studies about how you should combine Prince2 with Scrum or whatever it be, agile methodology. It is really possible. Remember, so this must be in government, or at least on the level of the general project manager of the big complex project with multiple subcontractors. Subcontractors should do this. The guy who rules should do this. This is about contracts, about money, about everything serious. This is about sprints and velocity and all that stuff customer never understand and shouldn't. There are also recommendations and guides about how to create agile contracting, because that is the most popular topic. Okay, even if you accept that agile is nice and everything is fine, but how can you sign a contract with some responsibilities and finance? How should you define the financing? Okay, there are different ways. They are listed here. We are running out of time probably, so I should be a little bit faster. Another resource, another resource. Now, what do we have now? Now we have, because Agile is very adaptable, it adapts to everything. Now we have Agile in Lithuania and government projects similar to this, who is everything, and Agile and not Agile, and also delivering stuff. And we have Agile undercover, so I call that, and because Agile is not forbidden, but it's not welcomed also. So it all depends on the will and skills of the supplier and the purchasing organization. And development practices are 100% compatible. So you can do practices on technological practice about those continuous delivery and all that stuff you probably heard in this conference. You can do that in any kind of project. Agile undercover means that you are getting in some considerations with the customer about the goals, values, and often reviews, often collaboration sessions, often acceptance, hopefully, even formal acceptance. If formal is not possible, do it informal. Just do it often. Show something working often, and plan releases as for commercial project. I was speaking about that in spring. You can find my presentation. If you have more questions to the practitioners of that approach, Agile undercover, find Vaida. She is also speaking here on this conference, so she was presenting her experience previously in government sector delivering Agile projects. And yes, I can say that non-Agile projects have failed in public sector because maybe 2 or 3 of them only. They are always successful. Okay, bright future is coming, and remember that strategy. I really hope that that strategy is not only bullshit. That strategy is a strategy, and okay, and I like that. I like that strategy. It really fits for our country and possible future. And from that strategy, there will be some targets and KPIs for the ministries, and those ministry KPIs may look like this. Measure of economic efficiency, innovative technological projects, availability, environment. So this is the zone of Agile. See here, innovative technological projects. This is from the one of presentations of the Ministry of Economy in Lithuania, translated by myself. Maybe some terminology is wrong. But this is Agile zone. You cannot do this following that feasibility study and 4 years life cycle approach. You must do something. So I see that as an enabler of agile legalization and even recommendation in government, because if organizations want to achieve their KPIs, they must run something like that. In order to run something like that, they need to purchase in agile way, because they cannot purchase otherwise at all. They must run projects innovative with their own resources, which, as we know, we have lack of the qualified resources, especially technological staff in ministries. Another stuff which is already starting in Lithuania, hopefully, and we should use this momentum to push that further. Okay, clouds, IT as a service. How does this relate to Agile? Because, for example, in the big project, one of the arguments I've heard that you should specify all requirements in front of in the beginning, because you must evaluate how many servers you should buy. Logically, because if you deliver this piece of the software, customers just have no place to install that stuff. They must have servers. They must have infrastructure where to put that working software we are delivering Agile. So if you want to deliver Agile software, there must be a way to accept that software and to run that in some production environment. If our government will learn how to buy infrastructure as a service, if our government switch to clouds and to service collocation and so on, and which will be available like this on demand, for us, Agile software developers, that would be a great celebration, because we can deliver software and government institutions always have a place where to put that software on subscription base. This is not CapEx anymore. This is OpEx, operational expenses. This is part of our software development services. They just buy the infrastructure where to put that stuff. Or maybe this may be government cloud, I don't know, in the center of registers, maybe somewhere else, maybe in some new formation. I don't know, but that is the future. It is coming. Another future very related is open data. Open data, there is a nice initiative in the Ministry of Economy. They tried to start just in UK, just as in Australia, New Zealand, and many other countries, the open data initiative. Meaning that government just shares all their data. All. Whatever they can share, but is not confidential, about operations, statistics, their performance and so on. They just put those data sets as a raw data in some place, in some cloud probably. You can download that. You can create your own applications. You can use that in your projects, because that institution is reliable, legally obliged, and they are periodically renewing those data about their performance. You can check on open data in UK, in Google, look on what is happening in open data with Austria, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and so on. Very nice stories, very nice portals with lots of data. You can create your applications just as a startup, just to analyze how our government is going on. Open source is another open data and open source. I'm not speaking about Linuxes here. I'm a Microsoft guy, actually, but I'm speaking about the open source of the systems. I don't think that our organizations really receives the code of the systems they have ordered. At least maybe they receive a CD or DVD with something, with some zip files, but this is not compilable. This is not a code you can reproduce the system. There must be practice of getting as a part of your system delivery this custom code the supplier have developed. You must run special acceptance procedures. Maybe hire another guy who can compile that stuff and say, yes, that thing is compilable. That thing is really possible to open again, to give to another supplier. So another supplier can continue developing of that system if that supplier is cheaper or more qualified, or just want to integrate with this solution. Currently, we are playing this game that all systems are owned by the organizations. Guys, you own nothing. You cannot open the system and continue developing of that. That is not possible. So that must be enabled also. And that is part of the Agile, because if you are delivering Agile by small chunks, and if you are unhappy with this supplier, and if you are buying in Agile way, if that is open code, you can change the supplier. If that is open data, you can change the supplier again. Because that is open and defined, that is open and defined, you can continue. Okay, so this is my vision of how everything will change. Right now, I'm, let's say, I've got a contact in Information Society committee, and we will try to change our current methodology, bringing there some mentioning or as possible alternatives as Prince2 and Agile combination, highlighting the need of measurable goals, scenarios, priorities, and going live with iterations roadmaps. So that hopefully will happen even this year. That is only recommendation. For the next year, I hope that we will change the public procurement law by delivering some guides and recommendations which will define how to purchase information systems. Because there's already understanding that there are different types of the projects. For example, constructions, building constructions. There are, for example, purchase of the arts or artists, singers and so on, they cannot be run for the similar, for the one procedure. IT systems, information system development is also something special, and I hope there will be guidelines and recommendations for agile IT procurement, contracting, payments, legal side of all those serial co-purchases or cancellation of the project, so none organization would hurt from the buying agile and acting with their projects in agile way. In the future, I hope that we will definitely rework our law on information resources. Maybe there will be some kind of IT ministry or government cloud, I don't know, and there will be the real enablement of agile projects in our government, because the infrastructure will never be a question again, because that will be just separated. Software will be software, IT would be IT. Now they are mixed and they are impacting one another. Okay, so this is a reminder about our goals, and we have no time for the questions, like me. But you can find me here. I'm staying for some time. Thank you.